Okay, so Betty, I met you in Florida at Toastmasters, if I recall, and also you are a wonderful friend of Francine Jolene.
I
So
am absolutely,
big,
absolutely.
so big shout out to Francine because she has brought in, I would say, at least a dozen. Speaking of the 12, the yes coach
Yes.
before, I would say she brought in about 12 of the authors. And I was saying earlier, it's interesting. If you're an author and you don't know authors, you need to get in that community. You need to get in a meetup and meet more authors because people like Francine bring wonderful people like Bette Saffran here. So Betty, the floor is yours. I'm going to exit out, share for a couple minutes who you are, why you did your book, and why your book makes a difference in the world. Have fun.
Okay. Thanks so much, Ken. I absolutely loved that last that last yes, and the 12. I thought of my own granddaughter who's 12. So I think 12 is a wonderful number as well. I love children. I love children. I love being with children. I used to teach them in Sunday school. The reason I started writing is I happened to see all these cute things that my kids were doing, and it made me start thinking of poetry. And so I would write a poem about whatever it was they had done that day. For example, I saw my son and his friend Roger next door. They happened to be in the backyard. They had their little pop guns over their shoulder. He'd taken my daughter's netting that she puts her stuff put her stuffed animals in, and he had that flung over his shoulder. And I looked in the backyard and I said, "Hey guys, what are you up to?" "We're going hunting for alligators, Mom." I said, "Wow, do you think we have any in the backyard?" He said, "We have to have some." And so I said, "Well, carry on." And so off they went. That night, I wrote a poem that we're going hunting for alligators, sure to catch one sooner or later. We'll check our backyard, our neighbors too. Used to see them when I was little, but they probably grew. And so forth. And that's how I got started writing. And then at night, I would read this poetry to my children, and they would just adore hearing their stories as their bedtime story. And so that's how I got started. And I have just approved the final proofs for my poetry book, which is Bette's Pantry of Playful Poems. But what I'm doing now, even more so, is writing stories that are lessons. I think children need lessons. I have lessons that are so simple as sharing, as caring. And I just wrote a story called Beneath Lily's Glasses. Lily's a frog, and she's always wanted to be a teacher. That's been her heart's desire. She found a pair of glasses and she put them on because she had heard once on the bank somebody say, "I simply can't read without my glasses." Lily thought if she put her glasses on that she would be able to read. She just knew that that was the answer to her problems. It didn't help her read. She also had a fairy godmother who was Charlotte, her dragonfly, who stayed with her one day because Lily was very sad. She wanted to read. She wanted to be able to teach. "But let me watch for the day with you, Charlotte. Let's see what we can do." Or Lily, let's see what we can do. Lily was teaching all of her froggy friends how to jump and how to leap and how to she decided they needed to do exercises to build up their legs. So she's up on the bank doing jumping jacks and running in place and teaching her froggy friends to do the same. In the end, of course, it turns out that Lily's already a teacher. She never needed the glasses. So what's beneath Lily's glasses? So she's a teacher. At, she has the strength of a teacher, the heart of a teacher, the love of a teacher, everything that you would want in a teacher, what Lily has. And of course, Charlotte reminds her of that. "Lily, dear, you don't need those glasses. Those glasses are not what makes you a teacher. makes you a teacher. It's how you treat your friends and how you help your friends. That's the story. And in the very end, there's a lily pad, the beautiful sunset with those glasses sitting on the lily pad, and Lily's doing her thing without them. So that's the kind of stories that I like to write. I like to write lessons. I've written a series that I'm in the process now of of another of the second one. But my series is Tiny Steam Tug. We started with big lessons from a tiny steam tug, but this is the Tiny Steam Tug. And he is very tiny, but he has a very, very big heart. And he has to take on a very large mission for such a tiny steam tug. And he gets all kinds of criticism from these huge steamers and huge carriers that he's got to pull across, even as a tiny steam tug. And they almost get to him, with their derisions and their just being mean. And Tiny finally remembers about his papa steam tug, who teaches him, and that he has courage and that he has strength. And it isn't about his size, it's about the size of his heart. And he drags them on through the Hudson River to save the town and bring the coal where it needs to go in a very rough winter when people were running low. And this is what Tiny Steam Tug is all about heart. And all of my stories are about heart. I have other types of stories that are for a little bit older children now that I've done that are for telling the truth. Tell the truth before you have to. And it's an interesting story. It's a very interesting story. But these are the kinds of things that I like to write about. And so I have also got a situation with my 12-year-old who is on the autism spectrum. So there are many things that I have started writing having to do with the spectrum. And that is an entirely different project that I'm on now with different characters from a forest. And it's all about children being able to make connection. I suppose that's what I would say when it comes to autism. They have to be able to make connection. So my characters have very specific clothing pieces that identifies who they are. And that is a way for the children to continue to make connection throughout the series. And each time I add a new character, that character has something different as well. And again, it's something they identify with. I also prefer to put in the back of my books some questions for our kids, something in that will help them think about the story that they've read. And that's important to me. So the backs of my books.
Betty,
Yes.
we're at the 10-minute mark. I need to
Oh,
bring
okay.
person. I wanted to talk to you for a minute, but my moderator didn't bring me in. So we're getting the bugs out of this. So when they see me, they're going to come in. Thank you so much. And you can put in the link how to reach you. But I do need to bring the next person on. Hersh, are you ready
Thank
to
you
come on
so
in?
much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. So
Bye, Ken.
you have a great day.
You
And
too.
Yes, I